Hi, my name's Kirsten Curtis. I'm the Vice President for Supply Chain Strategic Initiatives.
Hi, my name's Melissa Brebner. I'm the Core Program Lead.
And today we're going to talk about Safeway's Core Program. There are a lot of data out there. In the 3rd century BC, the Library of Alexandria was thought to house all the data that existed in the world. Today, if you took all the data that existed and put it on a CD and stacked it up, the CDs would reach from Earth to the moon and back 7 times. There's an accelerating trend for retailers to share this data. Back in the early 90s, Walmart was the first retailer to share data with its vendor community. Now, over 70% of retailers are sharing data with vendors. There are 2 types of data that are traditionally shared: supply chain data and marketing data. Supply chain data consists of POS or point of sale and inventory data. It's used to reduce out of stock and improve inventory and increase sales. It's used by generally the customer supply chain teams, and it doesn't cost anything to participate in this data sharing. On the other hand, marketing data is generally aimed at household and segment level. It's used to decide on assortment, pricing, and promotions. The customer marketing teams are the ones to generally use this data, and normally it costs something for vendors to receive it. So on one hand you have supply chain data, on the other hand you have this marketing data, but what you don't have is what's happening on the shelf at the store. And that's what the Core program aims to do. Right now that store level is like a black box, and Core tends to open the black box so we can get inside and see what's happening on the shelf, which is really where the vendor and the retailer's interests meet. So, what are some ways that we can leverage this on-the-shelf data? Well, Melissa's going to talk a little bit later about how Safeway's doing it, but suffice it to say, there's numerous use cases and ways that this data can be used so that we can reduce inventory and improve sales. The challenge is with all of this data, how can you translate massive amounts of information and convert it into actionable metrics? And that's where the Core program comes in. So Core stands for Collaboration for Optimized Retail Excellence. We have 4 key competencies within Core. It's strategic, it's collaborative, it's comprehensive, and it's innovative. And I want to talk a little bit more about that. In terms of strategic, we really view data sharing as a strategic edge. It's a competitive advantage that Safeway can use to really improve our operational efficiencies. In terms of collaboration, we think it's vital to collaborate with our vendor community. There's a lot of smart people out there, there's a lot of great ideas out there, and we need to be working together to capitalize on that and really drive both of our businesses. The program's comprehensive. We want to be known for having the best data set that we're sharing with our vendors, because with more data there can be more information and more action that comes out of it, so we can really drive more sales and be more profitable. And then innovative. We think it's really important to try new things, to explore, to experiment, and that's what we've done with this program. So in terms of who's partnering with us on this program, we've extended it to our top roughly 50 suppliers and some very strategic partners. The program is also very collaborative, and I mean that between both the retailer and the vendor, as well as within the retailer itself. So within Safeway, we have a lot of cross-functional collaboration happening as a result of this program, and at the vendor, there's a lot of cross-functional collaboration happening as well. Safeway wants to become known as having the most comprehensive data set, and we're continuously enhancing our data feed. We get requests from vendors and we work with them, and if they ask for more information to include into the feed, once we understand why they want that information and how they're going to use it, we then work to create new use cases around that new data. So we have clear step-by-step action plans so that it's like a recipe that vendors can follow to create value from this data. We've also been playing around with different ways to visualize data. Instead of a spreadsheet with rows and columns, which can be massive, we want to have pictorial displays and have fonts and colors and sizes of things really drive the message instead of just a lot of numbers on a spreadsheet. So now I'm going to be turning this over to Melissa, and she's going to go through a few examples of how Safeway has used this data.
The core team has several collaborative processes and use cases that are defined and focus on the following areas: retail alerts, pricing, rundown management and discontinued items, new item introductions, and schematic gaps. One of the use cases that we work on most frequently follows zero scan reporting and tracks out-of-stock episodes. We know that traditional zero scan reports miss over 50% of out-of-stock episodes. The core data enables an automated process for alerting at the store level. We can take yesterday's core data, send that alert to the vendor's store merchandiser can take action and correct the issue at the store. The store merchandiser can then provide feedback which will enhance the accuracy of the algorithm moving forward. The merchandiser corrects the shelf label, the shelf is restocked, and sales resume. With this new intelligent approach, we're moving away from a manual, basic, and reactive method to a new automated, intelligent, and proactive way of identifying zero scans. We discovered that the IZS alerts improve accuracy and resolve out-of-stocks much sooner than the traditional method. It only takes weeks to start up, and ROI is recaptured the first month. Another interesting use case we partnered with Conagra on was to measure the promotional effectiveness of putting coolers for ready whipped cream in stores during the holiday promotional season. We wanted to track and monitor the speed to shelf and see if we could determine the lift generated by the coolers. We set up test and control stores, and we wanted to also project the incremental sales if the coolers were distributed to all stores. We had a challenge in that the coolers themselves do not have a UPC, so there was no way to track or scan them when they arrived at the store. We did know that 277 cans of Ready Whip fit in one cooler, so we were able to assume that once 277 cans arrived at the store, the cooler had arrived as well. Sales with the Ready Whip coolers, we discovered, were 2.1% higher than the stores without the coolers, and you can see the peak sales happened around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Another way we use the data is to identify our inventory concentration. As Kirsten mentioned earlier, the visualization on the map helps you quickly identify where you have heavy inventory concentration versus light inventory. This allows you to quickly identify areas where you need to target your markdown funding as opposed to just doing blanket markdowns across all regions. This increases your trade dollar efficiency. One way the core team collaborated with multiple vendors was in determining that Safeway was sending out 6 different forecasts to our vendors. This was both inefficient for Safeway as well as our vendors. The supply chain worked to identify the best approach. We used the data, and we wanted to incorporate the POS sell-through data in the forecast. By collaborating with the vendors and our internal organization, we were able to create a new department that focused on one systematic forecast being sent out to all the vendors. This new POS enhanced forecast is now integrated into select vendor systems.
So the first key takeaway is that data sharing doesn't just mean throwing data over the fence. It really entails collaboration and working with the vendor to make sure that you're both looking at the same information the same way. Collaboration is essential to success. Without some of our vendors telling us what they're seeing and working with the vendors, we wouldn't have known about certain problems or issues. And oftentimes, vendors have really good ideas, so it's important to listen to what they have to say and work together to find points of interest. Often I think retailers and vendors have the potential for combative relationships. And what we found in working in this program is that it's really important to find the point where interests converge. Because when you can do that, you really are able to create win-win situations for both the vendor and the retailer. And that's what we strive to do here. And most importantly, have fun. This is on the leading edge of what's happening in terms of business operating models and data sharing and visualizations. There's so many new confluences happening all at once that it's really cool and it's fun, and it's a great team of folks that we get to work with every day.